What's up? What's up? Hey, it's a day late, but you know what? Just enjoying and savoring that Rutgers victory yesterday. Not just for the fan base, but for the players and the coaching staff. Illinois, 8-3, number 22 in the AP poll. I'm expecting at least to be around 20th in Tuesday's college football playoff rankings. Maybe 21st, but I think 20th. Anyway, so recapping what we saw from yesterday's just crazy, wild, entertaining roller coaster of a ride at Rutgers. Rutgers, very good team. Even with 6-5, they've had injuries super derail their season. I think they still may win 7, but I think this was an 8-9 win team when fully healthy. And going in there to Rutgers, who had some momentum. If you think about it, beating Minnesota the way that they did. A couple weeks ago after Illinois, they went in and beat Illinois in Champaign. Rutgers was feeling good about themselves. They'd won 2 games in a row, beat up on Maryland last week, in a similar fashion that Iowa did. But Illinois, resilient, tough, dependable. At the end of the day, we can get some irritating things going on. I think if you ask Brett Bielema, he's not going to come out publicly and post these things and tweet these things, but the penalties, way too many penalties, mistakes, pre-snap penalties, especially offensively. Melvin Priestley had a rough game yesterday. Brandon Henderson was downfield. I think Illinois had 10 penalties yesterday. He would tell you that that's unacceptable, and that falls on the coaching staff. But at the end of the day, when you don't play your best or you're at your best, and you can still go on the road and beat a quality opponent, because Rutgers isn't a bad team. That shows that you are a good team. And Illinois putting themselves at 8-3 in a great position to be 9-3, and I think the Citrus Bowl is very likely, no matter what happens with the Northwestern game. So yesterday, Luke Altmaier, of course, and Pat Bryan stood out with their their play. Hank Beatty on special teams, but defensively, there was some things left to be desired, but they buckled down in the when they needed to at times. And yes, they gave up the last play, a touchdown to Mo Toure. Kyle Monungai on the goal line there. But as Brett Bielema said, and I agree, that was an interception from Miles Scott. I don't think it hit the ground, and I think once you rule it an interception, I think it should be very, very hard to overturn it unless there's 100% proof that it wasn't on the ground, and I don't think that they could do that. So, but the fact is, Illinois, even if we think they got the stop they needed, Rutgers went down and scored a touchdown, and really the whole game it felt like Illinois was just behind the 8 ball. Am I right? It felt like from the moment Illinois missed that extra point, they were just chasing the game, right? 10-9, 17-9, right? 17-15, 24-15. And then when it was 24-15, at 2 scores in the fourth quarter, you're like, man, I just don't know. But this team has been so resilient all year. It just felt like it wasn't over. And Josh McCray had a really good game. I think he, and so did Khalil Valentine. The whole running back crew. Aiden Laughery's touchdown may be one that's not talked about as much. I haven't seen much, but I think the whole running back group performed very well. Josh McCray played very well. Khalil Valentine had some big runs, key first downs, and Aiden Laughery with that touchdown run, how he bounced it outside. He has just blossomed and grown so much in his time at Illinois. But the running back room is one that I feel really good about. It was a quiet one for most of the receiving group. Shout out to Colin Dixon with his block on, his block or whatever, getting in front of guys to help Pat Bryant get to the end zone. But what cannot be said about Luke Altmaier toughing it out, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 74 yards on the ground. Dude gets beat up quite a bit, and he keeps bringing the team back. 5th time he's brought them back in overtime or in regular season to win the game. Pat Bryant, salute, 900 plus yards, 9 touchdowns now, 1 away from Illinois' all-time single-season record to tie with Brandon Lloyd. What cannot be said about that man? An amazing man, one of the best wide receivers Illinois has ever had. I think he's going to get over 1,000 yards and break that record against Northwestern next week. 197 yards receiving. I think he's put himself in first team all Big Ten consideration. So, join us tonight. Keeping it orange and blue. 9:15, we're going to talk about that and so much more with your top 20 Fighting Illini. And maybe some hoops recruiting and banter as well.